Hello and welcome to 10 Minutes with Jane Nutter. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
I'm Karen Hendricks with Celebrate Gettysburg magazine, and we are here on the beautiful grounds of the Lutheran Seminary in Gettysburg, where behind these doors there is what for many years was a missing piece of Gettysburg's history. And Jane, you played a pivotal role in bringing this missing piece of history to life, and I'm talking about the Gettysburg Black History Museum. So as we're standing here today, I guess tell me what it feels like to know behind these doors there is a museum that you dedicated, and so many of your family and friends dedicated many years of hard work laying this groundwork, and now it's reality. What does that feel like?
Well, I first have to share with you, it's like, borrowing a phrase, it's a dream deferred that has come to fruition. And as I stand here today, I'm standing here in front of this museum on the shoulders of many that have blazed this trail, And it would be improper of me not to mention the folks that blazed that trail. And it was a vision of my mother, Margaret Nutter, to my sister, Mary Alice Nutter, to create this museum, because there were many stories, she said, our mother said, Black history stories that were never told. So Mary Alice, when she retired, she took up the passion to make this happen, and she blazed the trail. 20 years ago, no one wanted to tell these stories. No one wanted to hear this history. And this is American history, not just Black history, it's American history. And it's history that we can be proud of. And everybody needs to know this history, this American history, especially here in Gettysburg, you know, with all of the history about the battle here. You know, this is an integral part of that story too, which should be told.
Well, it was fascinating to read about the museum in the current issue, the January-February 2023 issue of Celebrate Gettysburg magazine. My fellow writer Lisa Gregory wrote a beautiful piece, and we're here today in order to bring that story to life by actually taking you, our readers and our viewers, inside these doors for a short tour with Jane. What a treat. So what do you say we open the doors and get started?
Come on,
All
come
right.
on.
Welcome back. We are now standing inside the Gettysburg Black History Museum with Jane Nutter, and there is so much history here. It's a treasure trove. Jane was just telling me that this picture right here is the oldest one in the museum from the 1850s.
Yes.
It's incredible. So you have to come see it for yourself. But today we're going to give you a little tour, and Jane is going to focus in on just one aspect of the many pieces of Gettysburg Black history that are here, stories just waiting for people to explore. And the piece that you want to focus in on today, Jane, is the social justice piece.
Yes.
So tell us more.
Yes. One of the things that this museum, several things that we wanted to do. We wanted to educate, we want to preserve history, and we want to inspire. So one of the things is social justice. Here in Gettysburg, Gettysburg is on the Mason-Dixon line. The businesses were segregated. Black folk had to be out of downtown before sundown. This was well into the 30s. So having said that, you know, there was a big movement to change those things. And it's a story not often told. And there are many people, like I shared earlier, whose shoulders I am standing on. All of us are standing on, that paved the way, that blazed the trail to help eradicate some of those injustices. And it was in education, in business, in all facets of life here in Gettysburg, which I have to share. One of the reasons why we have this museum is because there was a thriving Black community here, because it was a segregated town, so folks had to make their own way here. And they developed a wonderful, beautiful community, which I grew up in Gettysburg, called the Third Ward, which black folk and people of color were relegated to live in because they could not buy. Banks would not loan money to black folk or people of color. They couldn't rent outside of the Third Ward. So that area in Gettysburg, one of the oldest sections of Gettysburg, became the hub of black life. And the churches were located there. The churches were very, very important in social justice. The meetings were held there to talk about, the Underground Railroad, things like that, the emancipation. Colored soldiers belonged to the churches there. You don't hear anything about the United States colored troops, and I say this often. And here in this town where the Battle of Gettysburg was so very important in this nation, in this world, you don't hear about the United States colored troops that enlisted here from Gettysburg and served. And they're buried in the Lincoln Cemetery here because they could not be buried in the National Cemetery because they were black. But yet they went to fight for this country.
For this country.
Yes, for this country. So, having said all of that, over the years, the integration of schools, the schools were segregated. There was a colored school in Gettysburg at the corner of High and Franklin Streets, and that's where the kids went, black kids went. And then I believe it was 1929 when there were a group of black men that got together and went to the school board and said, the colored school was no longer adequate to serve. So, and they met resistance. In fact, the Klan, there's a wonderful story that was passed down. There was gentleman Richard Thomas and Mr. William Biggs. The Klan, they were going to burn a cross on the corner of High Street and Washington Street. It all evolved from this. And they went to Baltimore to get guns because they said they dared them to come up and light it. So the black men of Gettysburg got together, got the guns, and then dared them to come up and light it. They did not light it. And so that was all evolved out of that, too. So black kids then did start to go to the schools here in Gettysburg. And so that was a big thing now. And also throughout, I have to say, Mary Alice was the first recognized black teacher in 1964.
Your sister.
Yes, 1964. So, and I can remember her coming home and sharing the stories, but there were a lot of people, a lot of white folk and black folk that supported her so that she could go to college. And her mission was to come back to Gettysburg and make it better.
Wow.
And so she stayed here for a bit. She was very young then, stayed here for a bit and taught, and then went on to blaze other trails. But then she came back and she still lived here, and then the museum all became a part of that later on in her life after the mandate from our mother. So, and there were a lot of folk that helped her. She didn't do it alone. There were many people that helped. There were many people that tried to deter her. But she has a warrior spirit, and she overcame that with the help of many and the support of many. And I must say, the goal is, through social justice with the education, that young folk need to hear these stories, that they do not feel invisible, children of color, that they were a part of this town, that they are a part of the history of this town. I can think back to, there was a gentleman, Adam Myers, who was very important in the social justice of Gettysburg. He blazed the trail so that black men could get their hair cut in barbershops downtown. And I remember hearing the story that he had to wear a suit to go downtown to get his hair cut at a white barbershop. But he was brave and he did it. And he helped. There's other, Dr. Louis B. King that lived here in Gettysburg. He was an anthropologist and got his doctorate degree from Columbia University. Well, Columbia, he was the first black student to receive a doctorate in anthropology. Columbia did not want to award that degree to him. Well, he was a very brilliant man, and he persevered, and he worked for the Park Service and other things while living here, and raised his children here. So things like that. We had people like that. And then modern day, you hear, there was Jean Odom, the executive director of SCAP, in her young days, when I can remember she was the first black cashier in a grocery store at Kenny's Market.
Yeah.
There weren't black folk in stores or anything like that. There have been black businesses here, not many, but there have been, because people have blazed a trail. They have taken the bumps and the knocks to get that started here. And with this museum, we hope to shed light on those things. So not as a blemish, but the history, it's not an edited history. It is all of history.
It's a full history.
Exactly.
A fuller history.
Fuller. That's a very good word. Fuller, yes.
Well, thank you so much for bringing these stories, these important stories about the fabric of Gettysburg's life to light and preserving them. So if people want to come and see the museum, tell us about the hours and how they can go about doing that.
We have a website, GettysburgBlackHistory.org, and we have a Facebook page. It's by appointment now, because I have to share with you, there's a wonderful board of directors here. Wonderful. There are 7 of us, and we are very grassroots. So we're trying to, which makes me feel so proud that we've accomplished this, that we have an actual museum here. And this board of directors, they've worked diligently and hard. They've helped to blaze the trail and do that. So through appointments, we can be open. And through this month of February, we've been open every weekend, every Saturday during the month of February. So they can make an appointment online.
So like a whole family could come, or like a civic organization or a club or a business could schedule that appointment. Or if you're an individual, you can call. It doesn't matter, but I'm sure you'd love for more groups to get to see this and to do it together as a group activity. Maybe Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Really, the possibilities are endless. You said that a church group is scheduled to come next weekend.
Yes.
So,
we need to tell the story. We need to share this story, a part of the full story. This is a part. This is a piece. So that's what we're doing here. And we're proud to share it. Very proud to share it.
Thank you so much, Jane. It was lovely meeting you, and I look forward to exploring here for a few more minutes myself. Hope that you, our viewers and readers, come and do the same. And if you enjoyed today's video, I have to preview our next video will also be visiting a new museum in Gettysburg. Our next video will be at the Adams County Historical Society's brand new Beyond the Battle Museum. So we look forward to bringing you that video in our series here in about 2 months from now. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.